Good afternoon, almost. My family and I raise organic seed in northern Maine, in the county called Aroostook County. Our farm name is Wood Prairie Farm. We've got a mail order catalog that we market direct to mail order customers that are organic farmers, organic gardeners, and there's a pile of them on the table in back if anyone would like one. The area that we're in northern Maine is known as the Potato Empire, and for the first half of the 20th century, Aroostook County led potato production in all of the United States. We reached our peak of about 237,000 acres of potatoes in the early 1950s, and our potato empire has been in decline ever since. And I think it helps illustrate from a standpoint of agriculture in the United States is in decline and it's at risk. And my neighbors that are the conventional farmers that have been growing potatoes for 5, 6, 8 generations are in trouble. And part of what we need is a solution for organic and non-GMO and conventional growers that don't really have options. So 35 years ago, we were down to 147,000 acres of potatoes. 70% of those potatoes from our area were sold as table stock, which is eating potatoes that you buy in the grocery store, at restaurants, at food service. Now, we're down to 55,000 acres. 70% of those potatoes are processed, primarily into chips and French fries. And my neighbors, the table stock market is now down to 10% of our production. So since all of us are money people in this room, I'll give you some numbers that I know you're not going to read about in the newspaper. The standard 10-year rolling average of potatoes in our county for these French fry varieties, the variety Russet Burbank, yields 330 hundredweight an acre. When these are made into French fries, there's a 50% recovery rate, and that means that 1 acre of potatoes can generate 16,500 pounds of French fries. When those are sold at retail, the value of French fries is $6 a pound. So that multiplies out to about $99,000 worth of French fries at retail. If all of those French fries were sold in the state of Maine, there's a 7% sales tax on meals, and that means the state of Maine gets almost $7,000 from that 1 acre. And what do you think the potato farmers get? The way that pricing is given to farmers, they basically figure out to the nickel what the cost of production is, and then they add $50,000 to $60,000 for the family living allowance. There is not 1 cent that is offered for the investment, and many of these operations, after 6 generations, are now up to $2 million, $3 million investments. So imagine a son or a daughter that wants to follow into their family's reputation and history of growing potatoes, and they go to the bank. Where is the money going to come from for them to take over, because there's not 1 cent given to the investment? That's a travesty. But at the same time, in the context of those of us in the room and our concerns of agriculture and looking at slow money as an alternative, the fact is we have several 100,000 acres of the highest quality agricultural land in all of New England that is underutilized right now. And these are crops that Slow Money Maine is helping to create a demand for. New England is looking to Maine for its food supply. Maine is looking to northern Maine, Aroostook County, and we have the land. It's high quality. What we need are the farmers. What we need is the infrastructure to set this into gear. I want to tell you a little bit about the organization that I'm involved with. It's called Organic Seed Growers and Trade Association, and I'm the president. We began this organization about going on 7 years ago, and our mission was to develop, protect, and promote the organic seed trade. It's a membership organization, and it's comprised of individual organic farmers, organic seed companies, organic seed breeders, and then also affiliate organizations and individuals that believe in and want to support organic seed. One of the, I guess what we are gaining the most public credit for is our efforts at trying to protect organic seed from the threat of transgenic contamination. and transgenic is just another word for genetic engineering or genetically modified organisms. So our organization, about 2 years ago in March of 2011, we filed a lawsuit in federal district court in Manhattan. It's come to be known as Osgata et al. V. Monsanto, in which we are doing two things. One, we are challenging the validity of Monsanto's transgenic seed patents. The second, and we are seeking protection for family farmers that should they, through no fault of their own, become contaminated by Monsanto's patented technology, that we will not have to defend ourselves in court from claims of patent infringement because we are in possession of their technology. It's a very large plaintiff group. There are 83 plaintiffs. We have individual family farmers, we have independent seed companies, we have farm organizations, and as was spoken, we have about 300,000 citizens involved in this. None of us are customers of Monsanto. We don't want their seed, we don't want their technology, we don't want their trespass onto our farms, we don't want their contamination of our crops. We don't feel that we should have to respond to frivolous claims of patent infringement should they contaminate us and should they not keep their pollution on their side of the fence, and that's why we've got the court. The Public Patent Foundation in Manhattan, the lawyers there are providing pro bono legal services for the farmers involved in this litigation. You may have heard Dan Ravisher is the lead lawyer. 15 days ago, he was before the Supreme Court arguing in the AMP v. Myriad case, challenging the patenting of human genes along with the ACLU. These are life and death questions. We're very grateful that we have courageous lawyers that are willing to stand up and fight for the public interest. The problem inherent in U.S. patent law is that it is absolute. No one has a right to possess another's patented material unless they have entered into a licensing agreement and paid royalty. The fact is, none of us are customers of Monsanto, so we have not signed any licensing agreement. We, under U.S. law, as it reads right now, we are under legal jeopardy for being accused of patent infringement when we get contaminated, and we don't think that's right. And really, this is not simply a case about defending the property rights of family farmers. The fact is, if we as farmers cannot be protected with our private property rights to farm the way that we want on our property, then all of you and all of your families have lost your right of access to some kind of a food besides a genetically engineered form. And that's not right. So Monsanto is good at stalling, and immediately, within a few months, they filed a motion to dismiss our case, saying that we have a commitment to farmers. It's on our website, happens to be anonymous. The fact that we don't believe them is one thing, but even if we were to believe them, there's nothing to have them change their commitment tomorrow. But this commitment says that we won't go after farmers who have trace amounts of our patented technology through inadvertent means. We've tried to find out exactly what they mean by that, and they've been evasive. And our lawyers asked them for a binding legal covenant that would tell our farmers that give us a guarantee that they won't come after us. And Monsanto refused to provide that to us, telling us, in essence, we want to maintain our options. And they said that that commitment that we have to you is completely adequate. Well, within 1 week of their filing their motion to dismiss in our case, in a completely unrelated case in the Eastern District of Missouri, another family farmer was being accused of patent infringement. And that family farmer and his lawyer team brought up this commitment of Monsanto, saying, you shouldn't be going after me after all. You claim on your website that in my case you won't go after us. Monsanto's own lawyers described their own commitment to farmers as vague. So in our case, they filed the motion to dismiss, saying that that commitment was sufficient. On August 11th, 2011, our legal team filed a rebuttal to this motion to dismiss, and they included on page 46, you can find this on the pubpat.org website, the oscata.org website, you will find our rebuttal, and in that we expose this duplicity of Monsanto, where in our case they say it's sufficient, in the other case they say it's vague. So there was an exchange of legal briefs, there was an oral argument, and then we received a ruling in February of 2012 from the district court judge, an appointee of President Clinton. The opposing counsel for Monsanto was the Solicitor General of the United States under Bill Clinton. In that ruling, Judge Buchwald dismissed our case, saying that we do not have sufficient standing. And then it was amazing to many of us when she said that the farmers in our plaintiff group should find comfort in Monsanto's commitment to farmers on their website. Many of us wondered if she had even bothered to read the briefs that we had filed. Well, we filed an appeal of this dismissal, citing reversible legal and factual errors, and that case is now at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington, D.C. We had an oral argument on January 10th in Washington, D.C., and we are expecting any day now to receive a ruling from the Court of Appeals. Of course, we hope to win this ruling. We hope that the case will be sent back to District Court in New York so that we can proceed in arguing the merits of our case. We feel that we have a very strong case and that that's why Monsanto is doing everything they can to keep us out of the courtroom. But farmers have gone to court seeking justice. We have a right to farm the way we choose. Monsanto does not have a right to contaminate us, to come onto our property and to subject us to patent infringement. I want to relate a little bit. We had a hearing in the state of Maine. We're trying to push through a GMO labeling bill, and I would say that it's going very well, and the dynamic is improving. We had a hearing last week in which an Ontario farmer drove 15 hours to come to testify to the legislators in the state of Maine. And he was a non-GMO conventional grower that had contamination of his soybean crop. Bees carried some pollen in, contaminated some of the soybeans, and he related firsthand his experience of Monsanto's bullying, of Monsanto threatening to assess him $100,000 in legal fees. And here this guy was just an innocent farmer. Monsanto laid pressure upon his lenders to not loan him money for this year's crop. He had to go outside of his area to secure funding. This is the kind of corporation that we're up against. They are a corporation that is as politically connected as any corporation in the United States at the federal government level. So we're here to stay. We're not going away. We want justice. We hope that the courts will grant it to us, but it's important that we fight this. The amount of GMO contamination potential now is somewhat limited. Even though it's on tens of millions of acres, it's still largely limited to half a dozen commodity crops. We need to fight it now to prevent the spread through direct contamination or contamination through seed, and we think it's a fight that we need to keep up on. The hearing that we had last week went really well. We really have a lot of support in Maine. In Maine, we have 186 legislators, and 123 of them are co-sponsors on our GMO labeling. We had a recent poll that was conducted in Maine. 91% of Mainers favor GMO labeling. Maine is not the only state. They're expected, Vermont and Connecticut are working on labeling laws this spring. We're expecting referendums to be held here next year in Colorado, Arizona, California, and Florida, and this fall, I-522 in Washington State will hopefully, there's a great dynamic developing up there, and hopefully that will be another state that can bring GMO labeling to the people. It's simple transparency and the people. The last thing I want to plug right now is tonight in this theater, there will be a film from my part of Maine. It's called Betting the Farm, and I encourage everyone here to view it. It's a very moving story of organic dairy farmers in northern and eastern Maine that lost their market to milk and decided to start up their own milk company. And it is absolutely gripping. I guarantee that anyone who goes to this is going to be happy that they did. So I hope to see you there tonight, and you can see what northern Maine looks like because the photography is stunning. So thank you very much.